Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. All right, so I watched your video.
Hmm.
I think it went really well. I think as a start, it's a really good start. And you showed a strong understanding of how to tailor your lessons to the standards that were requested, and that was really positive. I really loved your mix of like different settings. You had the group setting, you had a small group, large group, and you had individuals also working on their own some of the time, which was really good. Um, and I like how you noted that you changed your lesson plan. You noticed there was too much energy in the room, or there's a excess energy in the room, and you set up with a song, so you know how to change things to reflect the reality of the classroom, which can be tough at the start. I loved your use of manipulatives, really level appropriate for children that age to be able to get their hands onto the actual letters they're using, which is a good positive as well. Um, cut this part. Yeah, I think there was lots of positive. I also saw how you know the new lesson plan, you had sort of children in different seating arrangements and in different groups, depending on what best suited their needs rather than your needs as a teacher, which I thought was also really good positive. Um, how do you think the lesson went?
I think it generally actually went quite smoothly, to be honest. Before recording the video, I did have like a minute of like, oh, can you record in here right now? And so like just before the video, I did feel like, oh my God, I'm so like my brain is not ready for this. Like, but then I was like, just press record, let's go for it. But I think you can tell that like at the start. There's like one bit where I'm like pacing a little bit. And so I think it does show like even though it is a really organized plan, you can see that I'm a little bit like all over the place. I think it was nerves as well for the first video. I was like, oh, what do I do now? Even though I know what to do. So
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal, especially when you're like recording for the first time, because it does add another thing to be aware of. And when you're already trying to stay aware of all the students and your co-teachers, now
right.
you have one more thing in the classroom.
And my original plan was not to tell the students that there was a camera, but then they saw it right before I already pressed record and then they saw it and then they were like, what's that? And I was like, don't worry, this is the camera. I'm not filming you, I'm filming me. Blah, 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 blah. Um, so that actually was like another thing that I was like, oh, I didn't really plan for that, but I kind of worked around it. I think for the lesson in general, it went quite well. I just think there are lots of areas of improvement. Like when you see yourself teach, you don't realize like how many kids are like I can see all the kids all the time. I'm like really aware that some kids are not doing what they're supposed to be doing or they're just like walking around. But like in the back of my brain, I'm like, well, they're not getting hurt. It's kind of okay. But then I also think maybe I need to be more aware of that even more. Like maybe I should give them like things to look around the room or something. Just because some of them aren't paying attention, yeah.
I do think you want to have some space for movement for the children in the room, and I think your activity accounted for that when you said you can go to other tables, you can ask if you want a letter from somebody else, and I did notice that the kids were asking even in English if they could borrow letters. So I do think you had space for movement. I think you could add a little bit more of that. Like as an example, the song at the start, you could have them stand up and dance along. You might get some of that extra need for movement out at the start of the
Mm,
lesson.
yeah, I think that's right. Um, and I just think in general, yes, most of the kids in that class, right at that lesson, I think most of them did learn something from that class. But I do still think maybe out of 30, maybe 25 learned something, and five of them learned nothing in that class. And I think that's just because there's 30 of them, it's really difficult for me to get to the kids that need more help and they really need like face-to-face interaction and like really one-on-one learning. So I think that if I had more time, not 20 minutes, I would like to do maybe a little bit more independent work with some of the kids that need more help.
I think one thing for that would be as you go and look at your formative assessments and your data tracking, so you can keep a closer eye so you know for sure where those 5 kids are, however many there are. You could also work with your co-teacher, maybe have your co-teacher watch the larger group so who are a bit more confident while you spend a little more time, or also have the more advanced students work with some of the students who need a little more help to work with them as like a because they'll be able to practice their skills while also supporting the students who need more help.
If you were to do this lesson within like this time frame, is there anything like any tip?
I think one thing you could do is as a kind of a extra activity that's similar to that, how you were individually going through with the kids and watching the words they make and asking them to read words you had made. You could also pair up students by ability level and have like one student would make the word and then quiz the other student on the word they've made, and they could take turns doing that. And then you could also it would give you more time to just observe, rather than have to make words individually with each kid. So you could fit in a lot of practice, and also you'd have time to observe how they're doing as well. One more thing I wanted to note was I really like to use the technology using Class Dojo to observe the kids at home, and that also brings in the support from the family and interacting with the family and making sure the family's involved in the child's education. And then they also have more practice in a different environment, which brings the English from the classroom out home, which a lot of the kids won't have apart from activities like this. So I think you have a great use of technology to observe the kids, to get data to assess them by, but also it builds involvement with the family as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is a good, like an important thing that this class is managing to do. Like when I set that homework, I like last week out of 30, I got 28 back, 28 videos. But that's because when they take the homework home, I set it for Friday, and then they have 1 week to give it me back. So every morning I like put it up on the whiteboard in their free period, and I'm like, these are the people that have their videos done, and if you haven't got your video done, your number goes on the whiteboard. And then on Friday, the Friday after, we like take away 1 heart, so that means you have less chance of getting a sticker. So yeah, they really care about their hearts. So
yeah, I think it's giving them a long window because it does also to fit in with the parents' schedule. And that helps.
And I also did tell the kids directly, like, it doesn't have to be your mom and your dad. It could be your grandma, your grandpa, your brother, your sister. And that's really helped. I've got a lot more videos back since then. I think because then the parents were like, oh, get your sister to do it for you, you know? So like kind of even getting the parents to delegate work for the kids. Thank you so much for spending time to do the video today. And I'm gonna.
No worries. It was a really good lesson. I was really happy with it.
Thank you.